So today we are going to cover lab number 10, temperature and humidity sensing with Raspberry Pi. So Raspberry Pi is a very popular hardware, and we'll know about this Raspberry Pi hardware from the developer of the Raspberry Pi. So let me go to the website and let me see the definition from the developer website. Okay, what is Raspberry Pi? So the Raspberry Pi is a low-cost credit card-sized computer that plugs into a computer monitor or TV and uses a standard keyboard and mouse. It is a capable little device that enables people of all ages to explore computing and to learn how to program in languages like Scratch and Python. It's capable of doing everything you'd expect a desktop computer to do, from browsing the internet and playing high definition video to making spreadsheets, word processing, and playing games. What's more, the Raspberry Pi has the ability to interact with the outside world. That's the interesting part, and has been used in a wide array of digital maker projects, from music machines and parent detectors to okay parent detectors to weather stations and tweeting bird houses with infrared cameras. We want to see Raspberry Pi being used by kids all over the world to learn to program and understand how computer works. So this is the Raspberry Pi Foundation. The Raspberry Pi Foundation is a registered education educational charity based in the UK. And this foundation goal is to advance the education of adults and children, particularly in the field of computers, computer science, and related subjects. So this is the Raspberry Pi, a credit card size computer, or you can call it a pocket computer, and it is a replacement of your desktop computer. Not only that, you can do from beginners to advanced level project with this device. So let's explore. So getting started with Raspberry Pi. This is a free course that I have enrolled, okay, for your class. If you browse the net, okay, from futurelearn.com, this is a free course that offered from this Raspberry Pi Foundation, and anyone can enroll. Okay, I have enrolled to this course for this lecture. Okay, join this course free. You can join the course free. And there's a small little video we'll play at the beginning to show you the capability of Raspberry Pi.
How can you get started with your Raspberry Pi? How do you set up and personalise the Raspbian operating system? What can you create using code and physical computing? This free course will introduce you to the small but impressive Raspberry Pi computer. You'll configure and customise your Raspberry Pi, explore a variety of applications, and learn how you can create your own digital making projects using coding, art, music, and electronics. You'll also take part in practical activities to use the command line, keep your device secure, and access it remotely. So, if you're curious about your new Raspberry Pi computer, this course will help you to get started and take your first steps into the world of digital making.
So that's the free course that I will give you the initial overview of Raspberry Pi. I'll just touch or I'll go through some basic points. So these are the topics that you can cover from this free course. The Raspberry Pi operating system, the Raspberry Pi desktop, adding and using software on Raspberry Pi, everyday computing with a Raspberry Pi, connecting more hardware, getting started with coding, and the Unix command line. Okay, so also you can get certified. Okay, if you cover this course. with I think a small amount of money. So let's go through it. I have already joined this course for this class, and also I am a learner like you. I have gone through it, several topics. So let me go to the next topic. Okay, if I click join the course free, you see I can register with Google. So let me pick up my Google account. Yes, I think I am done. Okay, go to course. So in this way you can enroll to the course. This is free course, and also accreditation is available. You see, if you want to get accreditation of this course, that is a certificate, also that's possible. So let me go to the course. So 3 weeks you can finish the course. Okay, every week you need to spend at least 2 hours. So these are the topics that is getting covered in week 1. Welcome. Okay. This is week 1. Okay. Continue. Okay, I have I think advanced a few steps ahead. So let me go back and take you to the place that will introduce you to the Raspberry Pi. Okay, I think we can start from here. Setting up your Raspberry Pi computer. Okay. So to start with Raspberry Pi, you need to first install the operating system on an SD card. In order for your Raspberry Pi to run, you will need to load the Raspberry Pi operating system onto an SD card. There are other operating systems you can use, but will I be using the full version of the Raspberry Pi operating system on this course? So what you will need? Okay, a laptop with a micro SD slot or desktop or laptop. Okay, you can use. Just plug in. Just use a micro SD card reader and writer, and you can format the SD card first. You see, there is also the tool is given SD formatter 5.0. By using the tool, you can format your SD card, or just standard Windows operating system. Right click the drive letter and format it. You can do. Okay. Next thing, download and launching the Raspberry Pi images. So this is the Raspberry Pi download page. If you visit the page, you can download the. Let me click it. Okay. Right click, open a new tab, Raspberry Pi download page. From this Raspberry Pi download page, you can download the Raspberry Pi Imager for Windows. If you use the Mac operating system, then you can download it for it. Also, for you can download for Ubuntu operating system. Okay. So for Windows, I think you can download. Just click it. You can download this Raspberry Pi Imager. And once you download it, look at over here. You see, download the Raspberry Pi Imager. Raspberry Pi Imager for Windows. Then run it. Install in your computer. All the steps have been shown over here. Just double click to install it. After install, run it, and you can choose the operating system that you want to install. Okay, there are several variations of operating system. I think our focus is the Raspberry Pi operating system 32-bit, the full version. Okay, so click it, and the software will take care of the burning and verifying the operating system on your SD card. Just follow the instruction. your SD card is ready. Okay, so once your micro SD card is ready with the operating system, you can go to the next step. Raspberry Pi hardware and setup. So what is on the board? Look at over here. This is the Raspberry Pi hardware board. This is the processor. This is the RAM. This is the connectivity block. This is the display you can connect. And all the description that you can find over here, we are just skipping it to save our time. Okay, this is more detailed description. Look at over here. This is the network cable connector. This is the keyboard and mouse you can connect over here. This sound, you can connect camera over here. You can connect two monitors on Raspberry Pi version 4. This is the Type-C power connector, and this is the SD card. Okay, you need to with the operating system. And this is the most interesting part for our project: electronic components. This is called GPIO pins, general purpose input output pins. Okay, at the top of the board, you will find two rows of general purpose input output pins, which are used to connect and interact with additional electronics components such as buttons and LEDs. Okay, this is the Ethernet port, USB port, Type-C power port, micro HDMI port for the monitor connection or TV connection. This is the audio jack. Okay, and this the you see at the bottom of the board you can insert the micro SD card with the operating system. Okay, so let's continue. Next page. I think look at the picture. It is an animated picture. How to connect the hardware. You see, again is first insert the micro SD card, connect keyboard, mouse, Ethernet port. Finally, you give the power supply. Okay, and you are ready to go. You see, look at the steps has been breakdown on the following pages. First, insert the micro SD card. Then you insert the keyboard and mouse. Then you insert the monitor or TV, HDMI connection. Okay, also you can connect an optional audio jack over here. Finally, you give the power. Okay, it is Type-C port power connector. So you give the power over here, then your Raspberry Pi will come alive. Setting up your Raspberry Pi operating system. Next time you set up your Raspberry Pi operating system. So these are the setup process. Just to give the power, setup is almost automatic. You see, once you have the operating system installed on your micro SD card, these steps are automatic. That means you just power it up and you will directly come to this desktop. Okay, once you come to this desktop, you see step by step has been have shown over here. Click the next button to set up the desktop, and then change the enter a new password. The default Pi user account currently has the password Raspberry. It is strongly recommend that you change this to a different password that only you know. So give a new password, set up the screen, then you set up the Wi-Fi network, select your network, enter password for the Wi-Fi network. Okay, then you see, finally you see the desktop. Also there is option to update the software. Okay, so click the next button to update. It is highly recommend to update the software because it will keep your system up to date. Once the update the software is complete, so your setup is complete, you can restart and you're ready to go. Now on the next slide, there's a desktop tool. And in this course, they have a nice video that will make you familiarize with the Raspberry Pi desktop. So let me play the video, okay? So this is the desktop tool video. Let me play it.
Every time you start up your Raspberry Pi, you'll see the Raspberry Pi desktop, the graphical user interface of Raspbian. Now it's time to find your way around the desktop so that you can start applications and manage files. The main part of the desktop is taken up by a big background image or photo. This is called the wallpaper. At the top of the screen is the taskbar. Over on the right-hand side of the taskbar is the system tray. The system tray holds a set of icons that show you useful information about your Raspberry Pi. You can see that Bluetooth is currently turned on. I'm using a Wi-Fi network. That would show a different icon if I was connected to a wired Ethernet network. And the sound icon. You can left and right click on these icons to get more information and settings. So if I left click on the sound icon, I can adjust the volume or mute the sound. If I right click on the sound icon, I can switch between the analog input, which is the 3.5mm jack on the Raspberry Pi, and the HDMI that I'm currently using. Then we have the current time. If I hover over that, I'll get the date, and if I left click, I get a calendar. Back over on the left, you'll see a set of 3 icons that can be used to launch commonly used applications. There's the web browser icon, which launches the Chromium web browser, the file manager, and the terminal, which is the terminal application for entering commands. For now, let's take a look at the file manager. So this will be similar to other file managers you've seen on other operating systems. There's a set of folders which you can use to store documents, music and pictures. There's a folder called Downloads, which is where any files that you download using the web browser are stored. And let's take a look inside the Magpie folder. So here you'll find a copy of the current edition of the Magpie magazine, the official magazine for the Raspberry Pi. If I double click on that, it opens the PDF viewer, and we can go through the Magpie magazine and take a look and see what's inside. Oh, there's an article that I wrote, the 3D printer keyring. And to close this application, we click on the X in the top right, and we can close the file manager in the same way. The other item you'll see on the desktop is the wastebasket. This is where files go if you delete them using the file manager, and you can right click on the wastebasket and click Empty Wastebasket to empty it. The final thing on the taskbar is the Raspberry, right over in the left hand side. If you click on the Raspberry, you'll see the Raspberry or main menu, which shows you all the applications that are available to run on the Raspberry Pi. You can also access help and preferences, where you can change configuration settings. And finally there's the shutdown option. So if I click on that, then we'll see we can shut down the Raspberry Pi. If you click on this and then allow your Raspberry Pi to shut down, you'll be able to turn it off by removing the power. This is how you turn off your Raspberry Pi. There isn't an on-off switch on the Raspberry Pi, and to turn it back on, you simply plug it into the power again. Now it's time for you to explore the desktop for yourself and ask any questions in the comments below. In the next step, you'll have a go at changing the appearance of the desktop.
So there's the introduction to the desktop tool. Also, the things that you have seen in the video, it has been explained step by step over here. With this background, now is the time we can start our lab. Okay, and by enrolling to this free course, you can proceed further to know about more on Raspberry Pi. So we'll stop over here and we'll come to our lab. Okay. So the most interesting part of Raspberry Pi for this lab is the GPIO pin, general purpose input output pin. Let me take you on a website, Raspberry Pi GPIO pinout. This is a very nice website that has complete description of Raspberry Pi GPIO pin. Look at over here on the left side, it is interactive. If you click any pin number, it will show the description. Okay, any pin you click, it will show the description. So this is 40 pin connection. Pin number, this is the pin number 1, physical pin number 1, 2, 3, 4. Two ways you can refer to this pin, GPIO pin. Okay, physical or board pin. That means this is a physical pin 1, physical pin 2, 3, 4. And GPIO and BCM, Broadcom pin. Okay, so two ways you can refer to pin, physical pin number or GPIO or Broadcom pin. Like this one, physical pin number is 8, physical pin number 8, and GPIO, Broadcom, BCM pin number is 14. Look at over here, GPIO 14, physical pin number is 8. Either way you can refer to this pin. Okay, two techniques. And you can look at over here. This is physical pin number 15. Okay, physical board pin is 15 and GPIO BCM pin 22. Okay, so two ways you can refer to any pin. Now this website has very good support for different types of hardware. Okay, look at over here, browse pinout for hats, Pi hats and add-ons. If you click it over here, for different hardware, look at over here, you can choose different hardware. Okay, display. So how to connect PFA display, and it will show you how to connect the display, at what pin to connect, and what is the sample code. Okay, so you will get all the sample code and how to connect the pin from this website. Okay, pick up another hardware, like let's say pick up this one. So how to connect, sample code you can find from here. Okay, all the necessary information. Okay, how to connect the motor. Let me pick up a motor automation hat or any other motor driver you can pick up, and you can see, you can get the guideline how to connect the motor. Let's say servo motor connection hat. Okay, so it has a good support of different hardware that you can use with the Raspberry Pi. So one-stop solution of different hardware and information in this web page you can find, pinout.xyz. Okay, so today we are going to use DST11 sensor. Let me find out from here. Board, let's say sensor. Okay, pick up the sensor. So these are the different sensor they have shown over here. Let us find out our sensor. We are going to measure temperature and humidity in this lab today. I think there should be a search option. Let me see, is there any search option or not? Usually Raspberry Pi has a sense head that has all the sensors for temperature, humidity, pressure, okay, everything it has in one place. Okay, Raspberry Pi hat. Let me see, okay, browse the Raspberry Pi hat. Okay. Okay, so you can explore. Okay, these are paste to find out your proper component. Pi hat, I think. Okay, to find out how to connect the component to the Raspberry Pi computer. So let me go to the left sheet. So today, to measure the temperature and humidity, we are going to use the sensor DST11. But before going through it, let me just give you the floor to work with Raspberry Pi. Okay, there is a simulator that we can use for Raspberry Pi. So let me take you the simulator first. So this is the online Raspberry Pi simulator. Look at over here, Raspberry Pi simulator. So if you click the option Raspberry Pi simulator, it will open up the page so that from here you can access the simulator. So click the access here. So this is the online Raspberry Pi simulator. So Internet of the Things for European small and medium business enterprises demonstrator, and this is the Raspberry Pi simulator. And it is co-founded by Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. Okay. So let me click the next button. Raspberry Pi programming is made commonly in Python. This demonstrator will take you through different Python examples using the Raspberry Pi simulator. You will be able to code your own Python programs using the GPIO connectors. So how to work with it? In the next slide, you will find the Raspberry Pi Python simulator. Write your code in the text box and click this play button. So let me go to the next page. So this is the Raspberry Pi simulator. Okay, if your code uses any GPIO connectors, you can see the result by clicking the output button. Okay, this is the output button. You can activate input pins or read from the output pins. So first we'll see the practice one. Write in a output pin. Okay, that's practice one. How to write in an output. So click this arrow. Okay, this is the code written in Python. What you need to do? First, you need to import the library. Import Raspberry Pi.gpio as GPIO. Import time. After you finish importing the library, then you can access the function from there. GPIO.setMode, that means GPIO.boot. By using this command, we are telling that we refer to the pin number by the board pin number, physical pin number 1, 2, 3, 4. We have seen that 2 ways we can refer to the pin. One is the GPIO pin or BCM pin number, and other is the physical pin number. So if you want to refer to the physical pin number, then we'll do it like this: GPIO.setMode, GPIO.board. That means physical pin number we can use. Then we tell that, okay, setup pin number 13, physical pin 13 is the output pin by this command, GPIO.out. And GPIO.setup, physical pin number 5 is the input pin. Okay, so pin number 5 is the input pin and pin number 3 is the output pin. Then what we are going to do, flash pin number 3 5 times. Okay, so if you connect a LED on pin number 3, it will flash 5 times by doing the code. This is the for loop. For I in range 5, GPIO.output, that means you send a high value to pin number 3 by this command. Okay, GPIO.output within bracket 3 is the pin number, comma, GPIO.high. You send a high value to make the LED on. Then you wait for 1 second. Okay, then again you send a low value to turn it off. Then time.sleep 1. Okay, so it will continue 5 times, on off, on off. Okay, now we'll read from the input pin number 5. That means we can connect a button to pin number 5, and if you press the button, then it will detect the button press. So how can we do it? If GPIO.input 5 equal to GPIO.high, that means it's a high value, and then we will print that pin 5 is on. Pin 5 is on. Okay, and if we send a low value, that means okay, then it will show the message pin 5 is off. So let's play our code. Okay, let's simulate our code. Click the play button. Look at over here, pin number 3 is flashing 5 times. This is pin number 3. And let me click the pin number 5 button. You see, pin 5 is on. It is displaying the message pin 5 is on. So what we have learned by this simulator, we have written a code in Python that is flashing a LED that is connected to pin number 3 5 times, and also we can detect our button press. That means if you press the button and send a high value to pin number 5, you can detect it and display a message that pin 5 is on. So let's go to the next slide. Let's close it. Okay, next practice problem. Read from an input pin. Already we have done it, right? So as I am doing it, you also do it on your own computer. Okay, practice it by yourself. So you will get the idea how to work with the Raspberry Pi and work with Python. Okay, so this is the same code. Import the Raspberry Pi.gpio and import time. Set mode is the board pin number. That means physical pin number we can use in our program. We make the pin number 3 as the output pin, pin number 5 is the input pin. First we flash the pin number 3 5 times, then we write the code to detect the button press. Okay, again you see pin number 3 is flashing 5 times, and if we click the button in pin number 5, it will display the message after the flashing is complete. Pin 5 is on. So also you can write your own program over here. What is my suggestion? You can write the code. Let me just finish it. After finishing, I will give you a practice problem to write the code for a traffic light system. Okay, so we have done this one, right? In an output pin, read from an input pin also we have done. Okay, use a for loop. Okay, I think you have done also this one. For loop has been used to blink the LED. Okay, I think this one practice 3 is the for loop also we have done. I think we need to go to practice 4. Example of pulse with modulation. Okay, PWM. So let me click practice 4. Pulse with modulation. Import Raspberry Pi GPIO module. So by this command, import Raspberry Pi.gpio as GPIO. set up pin number 3 as output by this command gpio.setup within bracket 3 physical pin number 3 comma gpio.output. Set up pin 3 as pass with modulation output, and its frequency will be 2 Hz, 2 times per second. Okay, that means it will blink 2 times per second. So PWM GPIO.PWM. So this is a physical pin number. Okay, and frequency is 2. So you define that this pin number 3 will be the PWM pin output. It is because it is output we have defined, and the frequency of the pulse will be 2 times per second, 2 Hz. So, and start with a 50% duty cycle. PWM.start with 50% duty cycle. So let me play it. Look at over here, it is blinking 2 times per second. You see? So it is giving a PWM output. Okay, 2 Hz, 2 times per second. Let me change the code. Okay, let me change the code. Let me blink, let's say 4 times per second. 4 times per second. And do you know what is the duty cycle 50%? That means 50% time output will remain high and 50% time output will remain low. Okay, that means 50% time T on, that means pulse will be on 50% time high. Okay, and other time the pulse will remain low. So that's 50% duty cycle. If it is 75% duty cycle, then within a single cycle 75% time the pulse will remain high. 25% time the pulse will remain low. So in this case, we are changing frequency is 4. Okay, 4 Hz. 4 Hz, that is 4 times per second. 4 times per second. So let me play it. It will blink faster. Look at over here. At higher frequency, it is blinking. So you can change the frequency, and you can see how it is working. Okay, also you can change the duty cycle, and accordingly, by using this type of output, you can control the speed of the motor. Already you know how to control the speed of the motor from your lab number 7. Okay, motor speed control and direction. Same technique, same thing you can do over here. If you connect the enable pin of your motor control circuitry, then you can control the speed of the motor by this simple technique over here. Same technique that you have done with your Arduino. So let me stop it. Okay, so we have done PWM modulation, and code any program you want. Okay, this is the place. I suggest you write your own code to build a traffic light system. Do it, all of you. I am giving you 5 minutes time because it is very simple code. You see, take 3 pin. Okay, take 3 pin. Make one pin is the green pin, other pin is the yellow pin, another pin is the red pin. Red, yellow, and green. 3 pin, and with a traffic light system. Okay, red color pin turn on for 10 seconds. Okay, let just reduce it. Okay, let me write it down. Let me give a comment over here. Red color pin, red light. Red is on. This is 5 seconds. Okay. Yellow. Okay, after 5 seconds, you will make that red light off, and yellow light is on for, let's say, 2 seconds. Then green light. So this is the problem. Design a traffic light system. You will keep the red light on for 5 seconds, yellow light on for 2 seconds, green light on for 5 seconds. So all of you do it. Take some time. I am giving you 5 minutes time. So all of you do it. So let me check out how to write a forever loop in Python. Loop in Python. How to create an infinite loop in Python. So any question you see, look at over here. While true, you see, give the command while true. So this is a way you can write a forever loop in Python. So let me copy it while true. Go to our demonstrator. Okay. So what you are going to do? Forever loop. Before that, I think to define the pin number. Okay. Pin number 3 is the output pin. Let's say pin number 5 also. Let's define the output pin. Five, also the output pin. So red, yellow, and green. Okay. Pin number 7. Let's say output pin. Okay. Also we need to check the pin number. Okay. 3, 5, 7. Let me go over here. Let me check those pin. Pin number 3, 5, and 7. Let me see. 3, pin number 5, pin number 7, pin number 7. Okay. So yes, you can use. Pin number 3, 5, 7 you can use. Okay. They are not ground or power supply. So pin number 3, 5, and 7 you can use for 3 LED. So pin number 3, 5, 7 have defined their output pin red. Pin number 3 is the red color pin. Okay, red, yellow, and green. Okay. So this is the forever loop. While true, GPIO.output we send a high value to red color, red, pin number 3, and we give a delay for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Okay. Then we turn it off. After this delay, we turn it off. So red color light is on for 5 seconds. Okay, then we make it off. Copy the block for different pin. Okay, so pin number 5, after turning off the red color light, is the pin number 5. We make it high, we sleep for 2 seconds, yellow light, then we turn it off. Okay, after turning off the yellow light, then green color light. Okay, pin number 7. And also for green color light, let's give 6-second delay, then we turn it off. So this is our traffic light system, and let me erase this code. We don't need this code. So we have designed a traffic light system. Okay, first we have to import the Raspberry Pi GPIO library, the rpi.gpio as GPIO import time, so that we can use the sleep function. And with gpio.setMode gpio.board, that means board pin number we can reference, we can use physical pin number we can use. Okay, then we set up the pin number 3, 5, and 7. There are the output pin. Then we use a forever loop, while loop. Okay, we run the code. We make the red color light high for 5 seconds. Then we turn it off. Then we turn on the yellow color light for 2 seconds. Then we make it off. Then we turn on the green color light for 6 seconds. Okay, and then we turn it off. And this will continue forever. So let's play it. Click the play run button. Red color light on.
হ্যালো স্যার,
Yes.
আমাদের তো স্যার টেম্পারেচার এন্ড হিউমিডিটি সেন্সিং আছে স্যার ল্যাব 10 এ।
Yes,
আপনি তো
I
স্যার
am just
ট্রাফিক লাইট
introducing
একটা
the
করাচ্ছেন।
coding, okay? Because if you want to understand the code, because this is a new topic, that's why I have given you for this practice problem, so that you know how to code it. Otherwise, if you directly jump to the application without any introduction, how can you understand the coding? So I am giving you this online simulator to understand how to write the code for it. Once you know how to write the code, then your lab is very simple and very small. Okay, you see, you know how many code in your lab? Only one line code. That's the job. Okay,
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
so first understand how to write program in Python for Raspberry Pi. Get familiar with the pin number. Once you have this background, then you can go to the lab. Otherwise, you will not understand the lab. So practice it. We have what we have done. We have designed a very familiar system over here, a traffic light system. Red color light will go on for 5 seconds. Then it will go off. Yellow color light is on for 2 seconds. Then it will go off. Then green color light is on for 6 seconds. Okay, so this is the traffic light system we have designed, and it is working nicely. Okay, so once you understand and can write code in Python, then you can go to the lab. So have you done it? Is it working in your system? Test it. Get familiar with the Python coding and Python GPIO pin number. Also over here, you see the BCM, that means Broadcom pin connect number also shown over here. Physical pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the BCM pin number. Okay, both are shown over here. Okay, so once you are done, with this simulation, then tell me. I'll go to the next step for your lab. So again, let me show you the code. Okay, first we have defined that we'll use the board physical pin number by using this command. Then we have defined pin number 3, 5, and 7 as the output pin. Okay, first we import the library, then we give this information that we are using the physical pin numbering, and 3, 5, 7 they are the output pin. After defining this one, we can use a for loop while true, and we have this small little code for your traffic light system. So this is the Raspberry Pi simulator that you can use online and can write your code and practice it, getting familiar with the Raspberry Pi Python programming. Once you have this background, the introduction or knowledge of the hardware setup and programming, now is the time we can go to our lab. Okay, so let me close this one. Okay, so this is your lab sheet. So what we are going to do in our lab today, we are going to use a sensor. Okay, and by using the sensor DHT11, we are going to measure temperature and humidity. After measuring, we are going to display it on the screen. So on your lab sheet, all the details have been shown, how to set up the hardware and what are the steps you need to follow. Same thing, I think I will take a website from the Raspberry Pi. They have the same content, okay? So let me directly take you to the website of Raspberry Pi. So you will get the same guideline from this official Raspberry Pi website, but it has some more explanation. That's why I am using this website. Look at over here. This is the physical picture of the connection. This is the DHT11 specification. Okay, you can find from here. And this is the accuracy, humidity 20 to 80% and 5% accuracy. Okay, temperature in the range you can measure 0 to 50 degrees centigrade, plus minus 2 degrees centigrade accuracy. So DHT11 has a little bit less accuracy. If you want to get more accurate result, you can use DHT22 sensor. Okay, that has more accurate reading. So this is the hardware setup. For 3 pin, there are some sensors they have 3 pin, and there are some sensors they have 4 pin. So in case if you have 3 pin, this is the explanation. Okay, the 3 pins should be connected on the Pi as shown in the table below. Okay, look at what this is a plus pin. Output is the data pin. Middle pin is the data pin. This is the ground pin. Okay, so plus pin should be connected to 3.3 volt. Data pin you can connect to any GPIO pin. That means you have connected to pin number 11. In this case, physical pin number 11, GPIO 17. This is the ground pin. Okay, 6 or 9. Okay, this is the ground pin. And pin number 3, like over here. Pin number 3 is not used. Okay, if you have 4 pin, then this is pin number 3. That case is not used. So this is the 3.3 volt pin. This is the data pin. Okay, that you connect to this pin number 11, I think. GPIO 17. This is the ground pin. Okay. So this is the physical wiring. If you have a 4-pin sensor, then you need to add extra resistor. Okay, in this configuration. This is the connection diagram. Now, software setup. To install the library for DST sensor, first we need to run this command sudo apt-get update, sudo apt-get install with essential Python development. Okay, so you need to run this two command. Then you need to clone the Adafruit library from the repository by using this two command. Okay, after that, then install the library for Python 2 and 3. In your computer, this Python 3 is the latest version of Python language. Python 2 is the older version. To make compatible, you see, if you run this command, then this library will be available to Python 2. To make the library available in Python 3, you need to run this command. Okay. We are on a latest system. I think it is recommended that we can use Python 3 directly. Okay, this is the latest version. So you need to run this command so that your library will be available to Python 3 programming. So after that, you go to the, by using this command, you go to the example directory of the DST sensor library. Then by using this command, you run, or you get the reading. Okay, this is DST11 for DST. This is the DST11 sensor. By using this command, this is the DST11 sensor, and this is the pin number 17. Okay, physical pin number 17, and this is the type of sensor. If you use the DST22 sensor, then you need to get the 22. Okay, and what pin you connect? That number over here, GPIO 17 over here. Okay, so this is the code that you can write in Python. Okay, code has been shown over here. Import Adafruit DST library, and then sensor, you are going to use the DST11 sensor by this command. Then GPIO pin number 17. This is the main code. Okay, just a single line of code. Look at over here. You read the humidity and temperature by this command, and you display. So if you get the right value, there's no error, then you display the value with some formatting. And if you don't get the reading, if there is any problem, then you show this message. Now I will give you a demonstration. Okay, I have the hardware, and I will give you a demonstration of the entire system. So let me open my camera. I think camera. Let me turn off my own video. Okay, I think it will slow down. Let me open the camera. So I am opening the camera to give you a demonstration of the setup. Okay, picture is coming, I think, gradually. Your precise location. I think we don't need to do it. Okay. Okay. Look at over here. This is the Raspberry Pi board. I think, yes. So can you see the board? This is the Raspberry Pi board, and this is the GPIO pin number. Look at over here, and we are going to connect the sensor over here, and the This is the sensor. Okay. This is the DST11 sensor. It is a 3-pin sensor. Okay. It is a 3-pin sensor. Look at over here. This is the, if you look at over here, this is the plus connection, 3.3 volt, ground connection. This is the data connection. So let me add the wires. Okay. So I am connecting the system. I think let me just place the nice position to show you. Okay. So if you look at over here, this is the 3.3 volt pin. 3.3 volt pin. Okay. So red color is 3.3 volt wire connection. So this is the red color. I am connecting it to 3.3 volt pin. Okay. Then GPIO pin number. Okay. Let me take you to the website. Look at over here. This is the physical connection. Okay, look at over here. You see, the ground pin is connected to physical pin number over here. If you count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the ground pin connection. Okay. So this is the ground pin in my case. Okay, if I count from here, this is the ground pin connection. And next to ground pin, the data pin connection. Okay. Again, you check the double check the diagram. You see, this is the 3.3 volt we have connected, and at the location 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is the ground pin connection. The next ground pin, our GPIO 17, physical pin number 11. We have connected the data pin. Okay. Now I am giving power to Raspberry Pi, and I am using a VNC viewer. Okay, that means you can see the desktop of Raspberry Pi on your laptop. Okay, through the VNC viewer. So let me open the VNC viewer. You can download this VNC viewer from the net. This free software that you can remotely connect to any Raspberry Pi computer or any computer you can connect and work with the desktop. So let me give the power. Okay, let me give the power. So I am powering it up from a power bank. And I am giving power to Raspberry Pi. You see, the red color light is blinking. That means Raspberry Pi is getting started. Let me use the VNC viewer to see the desktop. Okay, so I think it is coming alive. Let me double click the VNC viewer, and it is connecting to my Raspberry. To enable this VNC connection, you see, you need to run the VNC server from your Raspberry Pi. It is very simple setup. I will show you over here. If you run the VNC server, then from any computer, even from your smartphone or any computer, you can connect to your Raspberry from anywhere in the world. Okay, I think let me try it again. It is booting up. So it works through the net connection. I think it is going to use the Wi-Fi connection. Okay. And if there is I think the net problem, I think it will not show you the content. Okay. Otherwise, it directly connect.
হ্যালো স্যার।
Yes.
স্যার আমাদের যে প্রজেক্টটা আছে
Yes.
এটা কি স্যার আমরা ওই ল্যাব রিপোর্ট যেভাবে লিখবো ওইভাবে লিখবো?
Now in your project, you say your project is certainly you are doing different topic, right? Okay,
Yes,
let
sir.
me check. Let me check this first. Okay. Yes, we'll discuss about the project. Just let me check the. Let me connect this Raspberry Pi to my TV. Okay, to my monitor, and let's find out whether I am giving the right address or not. Okay. So let me do it.
Okay.
Let me connect this Raspberry Pi to a monitor. You can connect with the HDMI output. So I am connecting a monitor to check the address. Okay. Okay. The problem is that okay, address is right, but because of I think voltage pro issue, it is not booting up. Okay, let me connect to the power supply directly. Okay. Let me give you the external power supply. Probably, most likely, your I think power bank is not working properly. Yes, I think now it will boot up. Yes, now it is working properly. Okay, so we can connect to Raspberry Pi from any computer now. So it was a power issue. Okay. Okay, I need to change the address. Okay, so it is showing 192.168.0.103. So I need to change the address. File, new connection. Okay. So this is the IP address 192.168.0.103. That is the address of my Raspberry Pi. Okay. You can find this address by running the command if configure. Okay. Or you can find this address from the VNC server itself. Let me show you. Let me click the OK button. So I need to enter my password. Okay. Yes. It is connected to the desktop. So can you see my desktop of Raspberry Pi?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Look at over here. This is the VNC server. If you click the VNC server, you see this is the address you can find. And how to install the VNC server? Let me show you. Let me close it. Preference. Need to click preference. You see? You need to click preference. Okay. In the preference, okay, let me change the resolution. Okay, it is showing the in a small screen resolution. Let me change it. Okay, so you will see everything in one place. I have a small Raspberry Pi monitor, 3.5 inch. So it is showing that resolution for the 3.5 inch Raspberry Pi monitor. So this is the command that I need to go to the folder cd show and need to change the resolution LCD to HDMI. Okay. Then it is restarting my Raspberry Pi computer with the resolution for your TV. Okay, higher resolution so that you can see the entire desktop. Now my Raspberry Pi is booting up, and after it boots up, I think you'll get the connection. If you look at over here, this is the small Raspberry Pi monitor, 3.5 inch. Okay. Now you see, resolution has been changed. Preference. Okay. Go to the preference. Then if you click Raspberry Pi configuration from the preference, system, then display interface. You see, from the interface menu tab, you see VNC. You need to enable the VNC. Then the VNC server will be enabled. Once the VNC server is enabled, look at over here. You'll see an icon, and you'll see the address from here: 192.168.0.103. For my Raspberry Pi, this is the address. Okay. And also, if you want to control your Raspberry Pi from your smartphone, there's a very nice software. I'll give you a demonstration. Okay. If you want to control your Raspberry Pi from a smartphone, then you need to enable this secret SSH, secret socket layer. Okay. Then you can have full control of your Raspberry Pi from your smartphone. Okay. And there's a quick way to use the DHT111 sensor. That means we'll read the data from our hardware and we'll display the data to the smartphone without any coding. It is codeless design, okay? There's a nice little app for your smartphone. If you use the app, then you can have complete control of your Raspberry Pi from your smartphone, and also the sensor data you can display directly without any coding. The software does everything for you. You can install the library, everything, and just you show the result nicely on your smartphone. So to do it, enable this secret socket layer, this option, okay, SSH. So once you do it, let me read the sensor value. Okay, let me go to the terminal. Let me click the terminal icon. And then go to the example directory. All the things I have, okay, cd address for Python, okay. Then go to the example directory. Okay, now we'll run the command. Okay, look at over here, Python. This is the program that is already supplied with the library file of DHT11, Adafruit DHT.py. This is the type of sensor 11 and GPIO pin number 17. So let me run it. If everything is okay, let me check the connection. If everything is okay, I think let me disconnect it. Somehow my sensor has got overheated. Okay. Okay, my sensor actually is for some reason, probably there was some short circuit connection, whatever it is not working properly. Okay. So if you just give this command, then you'll see the reading. Let me do it again. Okay. Let me check the diagram first. Okay, the reason is that my sensor touched the bare bone surface. Okay, and there is a short circuit. Because of the short circuit, I think the sensor has some problem. Okay, I did not just notice it. So be careful when you work with the sensor. Make sure keep the sensor separate from your hardware. Otherwise, there is open. Look at the back of the sensor. There is this open connection. So there may be touched and it has got short circuit. Let me see whether it is working, still working or not. Okay. Yes, somehow the sensor has got some problem because of short circuit. Okay, the back side of the sensor touched some surface. I think that made it short circuit. I think it is not working even right now. So, but in your case, you see, maybe so be careful. Don't touch the backside of the sensor with the metal, okay? If it may get short circuited and it may burn your sensor, okay? So fail to get reading. I think that's the main problem, okay? I think it's not working now. Let me try it again. I think because of short circuit, it is not working. But be careful. But it will work this way, okay? Yes. Now it is giving the reading, okay? Temperature 59 degrees centigrade. So sensor is still working. Humidity is 20.25%. Okay, let me do it again. Now it is working. Okay, so what I have done, I have designed, this is not a nice way to display the information, okay? So I have designed a small window in Python, okay, to display the information. So let me show you. Let me close it. So this is the script I have written in Python to display the information nicely. So my sensor survived, okay? So this is the code. Let me run the code. Then I'll explain. It's a small code, very easy to write. Code in Python. Look at over here. It has created a window and displayed the information nicely. 59 degrees centigrade because of heat. Okay, in my case, because of some short circuit, my sensor has got overheated, but still this is functioning. Because of the extra heat, it is displaying high temperature and less humidity. Okay, so this is not the actual value, but because of sensor problem, that means it has got overheated because of some short circuit, but still it is working. Okay, it is giving some more value of temperature, that is 59 degrees Celsius, certainly very high temperature. That's the temperature of the sensor, not surrounding. Okay, and humidity is less because it's removed all the I think water, okay, from the air, and less percentage it's showing. But this is the way it will work. Okay, I have designed this a small window in a sense that the concept is that our main focus on this lab was designing an embedded system. In embedded system is something like this combination of hardware and software. To design the embedded system, what we usually do, we use a display. That means it is a combination of hardware software without any extra coding or intervention from anywhere. Okay, just it will have a complete hard like a washing machine. Okay, a complete system, get it and use it. So this type to design an embedded system, you need to display or into design an interface like this. Okay, so that just give the power to your system and it will display the information on a monitor like this inbuilt monitor. So combination of hardware software, and it has everything in one place. Okay, so when you sell your system, suppose you want to design a weather forecast system, okay, then or any embedded system, then it will be something that you give it to your customer and give it power, the system will be functioning. Okay, for to generate embedded system, you need to display information or display interface like this. Okay, you need to design a window and display information over here. Let me explain the code briefly. You see, first I have imported the Adafruit DST library. Then I have imported the Tinker library to design the window. Okay, so this is the code. Just one line of code to read the temperature and humidity. Then I have created a window by using the command. Then I have created a button. Then I have, by using the label, I have displayed the humidity and temperature. Okay, so this is very simple code, a small code that create this window and display the information. Okay, so that's the lab today. Any question at this point? Before I go to the next step, now I'll demonstrate. I'll give you a demonstration how you can do, how you can design the system without any coding by using your smartphone. Okay, let me display the smartphone over here. Okay, let me just close this PNC server and I will show you the smartphone. So let me display my smartphone on the monitor. Okay, so I can turn off the camera. I think we don't need the camera. Let me connect my smartphone. Open settings. Open settings. So now I am going to connect my smartphone to my computer so that I can display the activity of my smartphone. Okay. So there's a software called A Power Mirror. So you can download the software from the net, A Power Mirror. It's a very nice software. Same software should run on your phone so that I can display the content of my phone to my laptop screen. So I am running the A Power Mirror software. Yes, it is coming now. You see, this is my smartphone. Okay, it is showing my smartphone. Let me go to my app. So this is the app Rush RASP controller. You can download the app from the Google Play Store. This is a free software. Okay. Now I need to connect to my Raspberry Pi. So discover. Okay. Search. I am giving the search icon. Clicking the search icon to search. Okay, the first one, 192.168.0.103. That's my computer, Raspberry Pi. So use IP address and let me connect it. So let me give my password from here. You see it has connected. Now from this icon, okay, GPIO control. If I connect a LED or traffic light system, I can control from here directly, okay? Any pin I can control by this command. This is the file manager. I can transfer file between from my Raspberry Pi computer to my Android phone, okay? This is a secure socket, okay, SSH shell. You can directly run the command from here. Okay, you can run the command from here. You can directly type the command and you can run directly from your smartphone. Okay, and the Raspberry Pi info you can find from here. Okay, what is the type of Raspberry Pi I have? This is the CPU, RAM, and disk monitoring. The processors, pinout and diagram you can find from here. Okay, directly from one app. Okay, from one app you can have all the information. Now come to our point. DHT11 sensor, temperature and humidity sensor. So this is the connection diagram, and we have already connected to the sensor. So let me check the reading. Okay. So let me give the pin number. We have connected to pin number. I think GPIO 17. GPIO pin number 17. You see, it is directly showing the temperature 31.4 degrees centigrade. I think my sensor has cooled down. Okay, it is working now. And humidity is 46%. You see, this is a small app that you can use in your smartphone, and you can work with the sensor without any coding. That means the software will take care of installing the library, all the necessary things. Only just you need to connect to your hardware, Raspberry Pi, by using the phone, by using secure socket layer. Once you log it in, then you can directly work with your Raspberry Pi computer from your smartphone and can read the sensor data and can display. So this is without any coding, okay? It displays some, I think, ad because this is free version of the software. Just bear with it. Otherwise, it works very nicely. You see, it is displaying the information on your smartphone without any coding. Okay. So any question at this point? We have gone through all the steps. Now is the time. If you have any question, then we can go through it. So for those who are afraid of coding, then you can use your smartphone and can directly work with your Raspberry Pi remotely from your phone, okay, and can display the sensor value. But what I have found from this lab, okay, this DHT11 sensor is very durable. Actually, I made short circuit, it got very overheated, okay, close to 60 degrees centigrade, like very hot. I could not touch it, but still now it has cooled down and it is functioning properly. So this is very durable sensor. Okay, I did some mistake, but my sensor has survived the mistake. It's still functioning and giving the right reading. So I think this is a very good sensor. Okay, very durable and good sensor. It can
So what
survive
is the
the
price of
mistake.
the circuit, sir?
Yes,
So the price of the circuit.
the price of the DST-101 sensor is very low. It's not over here. Let me take you to the net. DST-101 sensor price in Bangladesh. Okay. In BD. Very low cost sensor. The TechShop BD, if you buy from TechShop BD, so I think 120 taka around. See price. TechShop BD has a little more price. Look at over here, 150 taka. But if you buy it from Robotics BD, I think they have less price. See, look at over here, Robotics. 120 taka from there. Very low price sensor, but very durable. That means I have found it today. It survived the mistake, okay? And it is still working nicely. So any question?
No, sir.
So let me stop over here and let me give you a break. And this time is right now 1:04. Okay. So what I suggest, your lab is complete. Take a break, then come back. If you have any question, then we can discuss. And let me download your attendance, okay? Because the lab is complete. So take a break, and if you have any question, come back and continue. Otherwise, since everything is done, and if you don't have any question, then after taking the attendance, you can leave the lab, okay? Let me download your attendance.